Time to bring in our panel. On the right, Phillip Strutts, Republican strategist and president of the eponymously named Phillip Strutts and Company. And on the left, the Washington director of MoveOn.org and host of The Good Fight, Ben Wikler. Ben, Islamophobia, is that a cause for what happened yesterday in France?
You know, JD, what we have in France is two extreme, unstable, violent, hateful young men trying to impose their will on the rest of us. This is about their going completely off the rails, being part of what's essentially a cultish, fringe, extreme movement. And that's something that all of us, I think, can roundly condemn. And I think that condemnation doesn't have anything to do with Islamophobia. And frankly, these guys are responsible for what they did. And, anyone who might have been involved needs to be held accountable for it.
Let me offer not a friendly amendment, but a friendly addendum. Islamic extremists. Would you agree?
Sure, they call themselves Islamic extremists.
Good.
But, I have to tell you, for a lot of these guys, they have about as much to do with what the vast majority of Muslims believe as the Manson cultists have to do with the Beatles. These are people who mostly are killing Muslims and are as hated by Muslims as they are hated by the rest of us.
Well, Ben, let me, I thank you for those distinctions, but it stands in stark contrast to what we hear from the official lexicon at the Pentagon and the State Department as proffered by the current administration. Phillip, the word Islamic terror or Islamist or Islamofascism, all those terms have been purged from the lexicon officially. Is that a wise thing to do in the United States?
No, I don't think it is. My dispute with Ben is he thinks it's a single act. It could be, but how do we know that already? I mean, how do we know this is not connected to ISIS? How do we know that they were not recruited? We know one of the suspects had been a terrorist for over 10 years. And I think the problem I have, JD, more than anything, is that even if this is an isolated incident, why doesn't the larger Muslim and Islamic world speak out against this? Why, if they are not the spokespeople or the leaders of their religion, which the media somewhat portrays them to be, why aren't the great Muslims, the peaceful Muslims of this country, standing up and fighting back against these guys? You don't see that anywhere. And that's a real big problem, that they can't, sort of self-justify, manage themselves. So it's a mess.
Ben, go ahead.
I'd actually disagree with that. I mean, the instant these attacks were carried out in France, the leading Muslims in France, as one, came out in condemnation. Mahmoud Abbas, who's no popular figure for a lot of us, came out and called these heinous crimes against society and against religion.
Right,
I mean, these attacks have been condemned by leading Muslims across the globe.
I get the words, but we're going on 14 years of this, 15 years of this. If you think back to the original bombing to the World Trade Center back in 1992 or 93, we're going on 20 years of this, or more than 20 years. So why are people fighting back against these extremist words? That is not doing the job.
Look,
Go ahead, Ben. It looks like we may be having a problem with Ben's transmission there. Let me tell you what, we're going to step aside and clear up that technical pause, and we will continue the discussion. There are more questions, more issues to be debated, and that's why Phillip Strutts and Ben Wikler will emerge from their frozen state, although it is pretty cold in the environs of Washington, D.C. today with that winter blast of air. We'll talk more in a serious vein, continuing the discussion of yesterday's attack and what previous attacks have meant to American politics and our decision-making, and some other issues that are out there for us as relevant as today's headlines. You'll want to stay here with us on America's Forum on Newsmax TV. The panel discussion featuring our friends Phillip and Ben will continue. You keep it right here with us.